If you scan the Australian outback, most shapes blur into heat shimmer. Spinifex, saltbush, a fence line that never ends. Then your shadow suddenly grows shoulders. A dark cross rides the thermals, wings long and fingered, tail flaring into a sharp V. That's the wedge-tailed eagle, the outback's patrol captain, a raptor that turns big sky into home turf and treats headwinds like a gym membership. First, the reality check. Is the wedgie the world's biggest eagle? By wingspan, Siberia's sea eagles still edge it. By barrel-chested presence, harpies look thicker. But in sheer aerial dominance across a continent, Australia's wedge-tailed warrior is hard to top. Typical wingspan runs roughly 2 to 2.5 meters, with females heavier than males, often 4 to 5 kilos of calm, concentrated lift. It's built for distance, vigilance, and audacity, the three majors in the University of Outback Survival, graduating with honors in See First, Soar Longer, Strike Clean. Architecture is everything. Many eagles prefer broad valleys and tidy updrafts. The wedgie likes whatever the desert throws at it. Those long wings carry deep slotted primaries, the fingers that tame drag at low speed, while that namesake tail acts as rudder and brake. Angle it and the bird carves. Fan it and the bird stops on air. From below, it holds a subtle dihedral, wingtips slightly higher than the body, a stability trick aircraft borrowed later. Add an engine that sips energy, thermals, and slope lift instead of furious flapping, and you get a Raptor that can write its signature across half a shire without breaking a sweat. Diet? Opportunistic, decisive, and brutally pragmatic. Wedge-tails hunt live prey and scavenge without shame. Classic targets include rabbits and hares, foxes, wallabies, young kangaroos, bustards and water birds over floodplains, plus roadkill wherever humans hurry. A pair will tag team. One stoops to flush, the other waits higher to intercept. On hot afternoons with dust devils sketching spirals, they ride high, then drop like thrown spears, talons forward, wings cupped, the air suddenly full of intent. They'll also step into the cleanup crew, policing carcasses before flies and ferals make a mess of the neighborhood. Their reputation picked up some fiction along the highways. Do they carry off children? No. Physics and risk say otherwise. Do they only steal lambs? Sometimes they take weak or newborn stock, but far more meals come from rabbits, pests, and carcasses that would otherwise rot or breed flies. Are they just scavengers? Watch one stoop at a hare and retire that slander. The Outback rewards versatility, and wedgies wrote the manual. The social file is spicier than you'd guess. Wedge-tails gather loosely where food piles up, post-storm carcasses, locust swarms, fish kills, but breeding pairs run tight defended territories. Courtship is cinema, high-altitude spirals, talon-to-talon cartwheels, and synchronized dives that would make aerobatic teams blush. It's not just theater. Rolling together teaches timing, trust, and the edges of the wind. You practice together so you can hunt together without becoming each other's turbulence. Nesting is a long game. Big stick platforms rise in tall eucalypts or on cliff ledges where trees are scarce. The same nest can be refurbished for years, growing into a throne you could almost sit on. Don't. Clutches are usually 1 or 2. In lean seasons, survival often narrows that to 1 chick. Incubation runs weeks, but real parenting stretches far longer, with a juvenile shadowing the territory until the next breeding window. Outback years have moods. Wedgies match them, scaling effort to weather, prey, and patience. A good year feels like generosity. A hard year feels like grit. Zoom the camera to the map. From temperate southeast to tropical savanna and red center deserts, wedge-tails read every Australian biome and say yes. They tolerate heat that melts asphalt and cold fronts that slap mountains, flying boundary layers where dust and light argue. Post-fire landscapes? They quarter the edges, hawking insects and small vertebrates flushed by the black. Drought years? They stretch search loops, keying off highway verges and stock dams. Flood years? They ride newborn thermals above green pulses and scout for water-driven bounty. Whatever the continent's mood swing, the wedgie shows up with a plan. Quick biomechanics tour. The ankle-thick tarsi
pack flexor tendons that lock like winches, turning each foot into a gripper that doesn't negotiate. The keel and pectoral girdle supply the thrust to leave flat ground without a head start. The eyes are shock-mounted gyros. The brain fuses image stabilization with ruthless filtering, discarding mirage shimmer and keeping the crucial flick, a hare's ear, a lizard's sprint. Feathers wear the land, dust polished along the edges, sun bleached toward the tips, each vein trimmed by wind like a well-used tool. Human entanglements? Plenty. For decades, wedge-tails were shot, trapped or poisoned as vermin, blamed for stock losses that data later pinned mostly on foxes, dogs, exposure, and birthing complications. Legal protection arrived, attitudes shifted, and the species rebounded in many regions, helped, ironically, by our roadkill buffet. New hazards persist. Vehicle strikes at carcasses, secondary poisoning from contaminated baits, and turbine collisions where wind farms pinch flyways without Raptor smart sighting. Climate swings bring feast and famine cycles. Rabbit crashes yank a key prey base. Megafires simplify habitat. Each pressure asks the same question: can the big wings keep solving new puzzles? Ecologically, the wedge-tail is a keystone cleanup crew and a regulator of pests. Knock them back, and rabbits boom longer, fox pressure shifts, and carcasses linger to seed blowfly surges. Keep them healthy, and you lubricate the desert's nutrient cycle. The bird isn't decoration, it's a hygiene system with feathers, keeping rot from winning and giving small failures a quick, clean exit. Field behavior has a vibe. Calm, reading, then decisive. You'll spot a sentinel riding a thermal stack while the partner works contour lines, slipping around a hill shoulder to check a paddock hidden from the highway. When the strike comes, it's sudden but not frantic, a clean conversion of altitude to authority. If you've got a drone and bad judgment, you'll learn how fast a wedge-tail can assert airspace law. Nothing personal, you flew a toy into a badge. Myth-bust interlude, Outback edition. They ruined sheep farming. The big culprits are weather, birthing complications, canids, and disease. Wedgies take some lambs, they also eat lamb killers. They can't fly with heavy prey. They can't carry far overloaded, but they can lift, drag, or hop carry impressive mass, and they divide meals with patience. They're the same as sea eagles. Different playbooks. Sea eagles fish and cruise coasts. Wedgies are inland strategists that make deserts yield.
Why do they feel legendary? Because they compress Australia's scale into a silhouette. Long wings for long distances, a tail like an arrowhead pointing at tomorrow, a mind tuned to scarcity, capable of saying not yet for an hour, then now in a heartbeat. They are the country's aerial thesis. Survive wide, move smart, waste nothing. When the land is huge and the margins are thin, judgment is fuel. Conservation with teeth. Protect nest trees, especially venerable eucalypts, anchoring territories across decades. Map flight lanes along escarpments and ridges before planting spinning blades. Incentivize carcass pickup on rural roads, and push lead-free rounds so scavengers don't pay a blood metal tax. Fund community raptor monitors. When locals own the story, rumors lose oxygen. Pair graziers with biologists to test guardian practices that lower lamb losses without vilifying the sky. Keep rabbit management sane. Don't crash the pantry without keeping alternatives on the table. Culture helps. The wedge-tail already lives in badges, logos, and footy mascots. Use that pride to back habitat covenants and school programs that teach kids to read thermals like maps. Tourism can be smart. Pullouts at safe distances where birds ride ridgelift, coated with ethics that say watch, don't bait. Give people a first-hand look at a talon spread wider than your hand, and you've minted one more voter for intact horizons. The more eyes that learn to look up, the safer the sky becomes. The outro writes itself. On a winter morning, the desert is a cold anvil, and the sun a small fire. Thermals haven't woken yet, so the wedge-tail rides laminar edges, tipping wingtips to taste invisible slopes. Somewhere ahead, a hare twitches, a crow talks trash, and heat begins to lift. The eagle climbs on air that wasn't there a minute ago, cuts a turn so wide you almost don't notice it, then falls like a verdict. No drum roll, no fuss, just a signature in the sky, and a lesson in how to live where certainty is rationed. Not the longest wings on Earth, not the heaviest body either, but as a system of reach, judgment, thrift, and power, the wedge-tailed eagle is Australia's most persuasive argument that wilderness can still think for itself. Give it room and it will manage the margins, police the highways, and keep the red heart honest.
Take that room away and you'll discover how quickly silence expands in a country built from wind and distance. Wedge-tailed warriors don't ask for much, just sky, thermals, and a little respect. Keep the horizons open, and they'll keep the outback breathing.